happening. The other thing that I think either has happened or will happen, because it happens at the state level all the time when there's statewide petitions, is someone starts circulating a statewide petition, starts getting steam, the legislator gets scared that it might actually come into existence, and then they enact an ordinance they enact a legislation to kind of preempt it or to slow the momentum on a bill. And I believe there was some of that scenario going on with the medical marijuana. I believe there have been some of at least initially petitions circulating, and then that kind of gets it back onto the legislative radar. There may be situations where there's kind of a give and take between petition circulators and municipal boards. Not, again, it's impossible to predict what would happen here, but that's definitely a concern. If you go for it on your own, you're in the driver's seat, and whatever is adopted is there unless overturned for a ballot initiative. So that can be done too, but if they don't like it, the ballot initiative can happen anyway.
The one thing that concerns me, and it was brought up when one of our residents spoke during the medical marijuana discussion, that we could be creating a class or a group of people who are unemployable by they're not able to pass a drug screen at work, pre-employment drug screen, or a random drug screening if your employer has that. Now, marijuana stays in your system. It's not like alcohol where you go out and have a few drinks the night before and you sleep it off and you go to work and you're fine. You use marijuana over the weekend. You go to work on Monday, you have an accident, or you get tapped on the shoulder for a random drug screen, and that marijuana is still in your system, and you just got fired, or you're not able to get that job because you just flunked that drug screen. Now, our township just adopted a personal policy handbook here last month, and it's right in our policy here too, an alcohol and drug-free policy. Saugatuck Township has a vital interest in maintaining a safe, healthy, and efficient environment. Being under the influence of drugs or alcohol on township premises or while on township business poses a serious safety and health risk to the user and to those who work or come in contact with the user. Accordingly, the use, sale, purchase, transfer, possession, or being under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol on township premises poses unacceptable risks for safety, healthy, and efficient operations. So,
I believe that refers to on the premises.
If you show up to work with marijuana in your system, or if you show up to work under the influence of alcohol, you shouldn't be on the premises.
That's what that says.
Exactly.
It didn't say in your system, it says under the influence.
Under the influence.
I think it's a little apples and oranges here.
Well, if you have a drink, you're under the influence. You smoke a joint, you're under the influence.
On the premises.
No. You're correct. From what I understand is that with alcohol, there's kind of a very scientifically calculable burn-off time based on weight and those types of things. It just doesn't exist with marijuana. Everyone kind of processes it differently. I don't know the exact science, but I think it could show up on hit positive on a drug test quite a while after it's consumed.
But there's no reference to drug testing in our policy. Under the influence on the premises is a bit different.
Do you think that there's going to be a big rush of people that currently don't use marijuana when recreational becomes available?
I don't know.
No. I mean, people buy it illegally today. Doesn't matter. Some they use it illegally.
Yeah, and they lose their jobs.
Well, so what's the difference?
We're just making it that much easier for them.
This is controlled and compliant and safety precautions.
We're not in that position to tell people how to live their lives.
Just one thing to note on that question, empirically, it is legal in Michigan and has been since December 2018. Can't buy it at a store yet, but you can have 12 plants in your home, continually cultivate them, and I'm fairly certain that's enough to supply your personal stash. So that's been going on in Michigan to the extent people could get access to the seeds originally since 2018, and probably long before that as well, but legally since 2018.
Nick, is there anything on the state level to address people having it in their system and being fired for that? I mean, is there any potential legislation that would change that?
I don't know about proposed bills. I know that the current statute is being interpreted to allow policies like the one that was just read, or even more clear about a positive drug test as a fireable offense. Despite the legality, that's up to individual employers. I know when this was being proposed, I was at a large law firm with an employment practice, and they were pinging all their clients to make sure that everyone at least considered putting a provision like that into their policies. I think a lot of employers, particularly heavy equipment type operations, have that in their policies now.
The 17th Street Law Firm in Denver presented at a conference we were at, and they were very specific about your policy should say that marijuana in your system is a fireable offense. And it's all, in all their government policies, they said, which I thought was very interesting. And I did do a stint for a company, a healthcare company, that said no cigarettes ever. And so actually there's a component in a cigarette that stays in your system for 14 days. They did random checks at times, and people were fired like that over cigarettes. So I'm sure if it's in your policy, they're going to go by your policy.
Yeah, and the law allows private employers,
yeah,
public employers.
Exactly. Well, and you don't want your nurse to be high, I will guarantee that. Or your airplane pilot, or I don't know.
Just a point of clarification, the Planning Commission would make a recommendation to the board.
Yeah, I was going to see if Nick could speak to that a little bit, because we have a regulatory ordinance, so we have the General Law Ordinance, Chapter 5, which created the medical marijuana use, kind of gave us the ability to regulate it. And then we followed that up in the township with the zoning rules that treat the 3 different types as special approval uses in different districts. As you know, and you can correct me, you're the attorney, but a zoning provision, zoning ordinance change, there's a public hearing with the Planning Commission, a recommendation by the Planning Commission that goes to the township board. With the regulatory ordinance, that is a board decision. That doesn't necessarily have to come from the Planning Commission, correct?
That's
Right.
correct.
So the board could pass the regulatory without us, and then direct us to address the zoning.
So I would strongly recommend that the board have the zoning in place first, because you never know how long it's going to get hung up, and then you have no ordinance in place, essentially. So what we did last time, I believe, is have both come out of this body. I don't think you did quite as thorough of a review as the regulatory, but I think he provided you a copy. That's what I did the same thing this time, but technically you don't have to consider that ordinance. It's a township board. But in this case, they work so hand in hand that it just kind of makes sense to show you both of them. And there's also just not a lot of changes happening in that regulatory ordinance as proposed.
But the board could approve both, right?
The board, yes, they're intended to go together. The board, with the recommendation, if the board wants to approve either, it would be for it to approve both.
Okay. But if we as a planning commission chose to either recommend against it or table it, the board at their next meeting could adopt it.
Well, the public hearing has to be held first. That was not noticed for tonight. Right?
No.
Okay.
So there'll be at least one more step.
But they could notice the public hearing and hold the public hearing, and then they could approve it without us.
No, you would still have to have the public hearing for the zoning.
Correct.
Okay.
You have to hold a public hearing, and then you have to...
But we would do that under the direction of the board at that point, right? I mean...
They would approve the licensing of recreation.
So you already have direction from the board to at least look at this,
right.
Hold a public hearing. But you could do all that at your next meeting, recommend against any ordinance change, and then the township board can do whatever it wants. It can follow or not follow that recommendation. So it's just a process. Going through the planning commission is a process required by state law. Ultimately, all ordinances are the township board's prerogative.
I'm just wondering if anyone knows, because I heard this, and I don't know for a fact, I haven't had time to check with the city of Senville, but someone told me that Senville actually did it that way. It was the board voted to opt in first, and then instructed the planning commission to follow.
So in that case, that can be done. To some extent, you've already done that, and it's just kind of a process point. You've already told the planning commission to look at it, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to me to then do it that way. So you could. At that point, the state was not accepting adult use licenses, so there was no risk that businesses were going to be approved without a zoning ordinance. I think we could write around that risk in our ordinance and have it come into effect at a certain time, but it's just kind of procedurally complicated. I think it's procedurally simpler to have the board consider at the same time, same township board meeting.
So the board has directed us to look at this. The board has directed us to have a public hearing.
Not
No.
We didn't hear the
specifically.
specific public hearing, but they did direct us to prepare this red line version that would treat adult use as we're treating the medical. And so that's what we've prepared. We haven't set any public hearing.
In order to make a recommendation, you have to have a public hearing,
Right.
so it
Right.
doesn't have to be the next meeting if this needs more work, but it eventually probably needs to be done.
Okay, so tonight we either call for a public hearing, or we table it, or we simply say we don't want to do it at all.
I would recommend holding a public hearing. Just, I wasn't at the
I think
township
that's a
board's
good idea.
meeting,
Okay.
but my understanding was kind of they wanted public input. Maybe John could speak to that. Maybe. I don't know what the wording of the motion was, but that was kind of my interpretation.
Yeah, there was no discussion of that. I think the feeling was there were public hearings held for the action taken on medical marijuana. And there was a huge public hearing held last November when the electorate turned out in large numbers to support medical marijuana. So an option I didn't hear you say, Bill, but I think there's an option tonight that we could vote to opt in and send that to the board.
We're just making a recommendation.
Right, yeah.
You can't make a formal recommendation until the
No.
public hearing is held.
Yeah.
So you've got to at least have one more week.
So the next step would be the public
Okay.
hearing.
Before we do that, can I just ask, is there any insurance implications that we need to know about with this, or should we be asking our insurance providers if there's?
It doesn't hurt to ask your insurance provider. I can't think of a reason why you need to change your policy. The facility will be insured.
Right. I
or
just wondered if we had any type of liability that we
you
would have to be thinking.
if you're sued, your general liability, if you're sued on like your approval
That's why I would
process.
ask the people who know, not me.
I think they would be alerting us to that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any insurance considerations. I know you already have pretty good coverage in terms of when the township is sued.
Okay.
But it never hurts to ask. They usually fire an answer back pretty quickly.
We'll ask you.
I'm not
You might have heard of something.
Expert.
You might have caught wind of that insurance issue.
Okay.
Tonight.
Is there any further discussion, or?
I agree.
I'd like to make a motion. I would like to move that we take this to a public hearing at the December planning commission meeting.
Are we taking the red lines as,
That would be my motion, yeah. Okay, yeah.
we have a motion, we have support for the motion?
I'll support that.
Any further discussion on the motion? Let's have a roll call. Welk?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes. Drew?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Island?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Would you like me to stick around for future items, or you?
On that note, what about next meeting?
Yeah, I do, I just wanna check, since our meeting's moved up because
Yeah.
of Christmas,
Yeah.
we'll need to make a call tomorrow to see if we can get it in the paper for the 16th of December.
Is that the first, that's the third Monday? Is that a Monday, or what is that?
It's a Monday,
Okay.
and, the challenge is the publication, and we
There
need
should be time for the
15 days.
Still November.
Still November.
I remind
It's
myself
going out.
every day,
do it
it's
in
still
January.
November.
And it goes out on Saturdays, right?
What?
No.
Paper?
Oh, no, no,
Thursday.
no. Their deadline,
Thursday.
their hard deadline is midnight Monday, even
Tonight.
Tuesday morning.
Tomorrow morning. 'Cause it
Well,
would have,
tomorrow would be for, I don't know.
no, to get the 15 days, we would have to have it in the next paper.
Is that possible?
Meaning next week's or the one that's,
I'm not sure.
This,
this week's, they're gonna have early deadline because Thursday's Thanksgiving.
right.
This week's gone to
So
bed.
that's my concern
Yeah.
about the December 16th.
So could we make it January?
Planning commission.
It could be at the January meeting, which is the last Monday in January.
It would be January 27th.
Or we have a special meeting. I mean, I don't know.
There's probably not gonna be much else going on in January anyway.
Right.
You know, it's just
I like December.
probably a good time. I mean, we don't have anything on the docket for the 16th.
No, I mean, if we can get it in and get the 15 days.
I'd like to leave the motion stand that we do it on December 16th if possible. And if need be, I'll amend the motion to say that if we can't make it on the 16th, then we do it at the January meeting. If I even need to do that. Obviously, if we can't do it, we can't do it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you call, call tomorrow.
Yep, I'll be here.
Yeah.
I brought my sleeping bag. I should have.
Wait till January, you'll need
And I
it.
will.
Okay.
Nick, is that feasible with your schedule?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So we have
Either
to
day.
have it noticed 3 weeks?
Well, yeah,
15 days.
yeah.
Oh, 15 days.
And I'm sorry, Lynn, I asked you to know this, is that calendar or is it?
Calendar.
Okay.
So that's why with the holiday and the early publication
Right.
and all of that, because the first is Saturday, right? Or
Sunday.
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 16
But I bet they
by-
won't go to print till Wednesday. So if you called Scott first thing in the morning, I bet they could get it in there.
You have to get me that notice.
Okay, that's no problem. I'll get to you all right.
Okay, thank you.
So where do we notice it? Just
So we notice it in the commercial record. Actually, it
We
could
should
go in the
notice it.
Sentinel if we
I think
can't
we
hit the
should.
commercial
Oh,
record.
Yeah, their lead time's much
Right, so,
easier.
so that's another option I just realized. So it has to go in the newspaper of general circulation, and then we post it, and we put it on the website.
Does Stendal have a paper too? You know, a lot of people are in that area. I know it has to go in one, but I just thought Sentinel and commercial record would be good, because a lot of people say Sentinel. I don't know.
So we'll look at those options.
Great, very good. Thank you. Great.
Next item on the agenda, old business, the special
Thank you, Nick.
approval use for the site plan review application.
Thank you, Aaron.
I made some copies I'll share with you guys. There was one question just kind of related to, the north elevation as well as east elevation and, the percent of windows. I presented information to Renee related to the architectural stone that we'll be using for the building, give you guys a better idea of that concrete block necessarily, but very similar to what you see being used. So I kind of
Sorry, just to clarify, this is brand new rendering.
I
On the window.
submitted information already to her to address some of your
Yes,
issues
you
from the last.
But this is brand new.
Thank
What
you.
we have is what she had concerns about.
Yes, she had that one concern related
About
to
the
the,
windows, right?
to the windows. So what this is
Oh,
just
thank you.
showing the north and east elevation, and we added some more
They
windows.
added more
in there.
windows
Oh, okay.
because of the comment.
Yep. That's the north. Yeah.
Oh. How do you know?
So like I was saying, this is a similar design that we're using in a different municipality, but because of your building codes and the regulations related to how much window you wanted, we added a few more. And the way that we put it on there is to also comply with state law, because you can't see any product inside of a store from the outside of the store. So we had to get a little bit creative with where we would put the windows, how high they would go, as well as how we would deal with the front door. So the front doors, the windows usually tinted for the most part anyways. They are in our current stores, so you can't really see in, even if you got on a ladder and stood up or did anything like that. We try to orient that as well as the entrance to the building. So even if you're standing at the front door looking in, you don't have a straight shot onto a sales floor. So you have to kind of go into a solid wall before you'd actually go into the lobby, and then from there go onto the sales floor. So kind of a little bit of a balance, but the state doesn't want you to see it, from the road. So that was our solution. If you guys have any other input, we're glad to hear it. I don't know if you want to go over the updates that I sent you.
Yeah, and the updates I included in the planning report, so we were able to get some additional, clarification on the fan and air filtering controls. So those are proposed and will be included, in the building, and they will have the carbon filtration system, and that it will always be in working order.
And if you'd like, I can, just to kind of let you guys know that what I presented to you is what we use in the store that's actually fixed in the wall, but we also have other carbon filters that we use in the packaging area that are freestanding units. It's just kind of an extra thing we do. That usually takes care of pretty much any smell whatsoever. The only time you ever get a smell in the dispensary is when we bring in bulk product, and then we pre-package everything in the store. So you get a couple hour window there when you're bringing a bunch of product in, you're opening it up, pre-packaging it into its sellable amounts. So a lot of times we even ramp up just freestanding carbon filtration. So you kind of click a button, big freestanding carbon filter goes on in the packaging area, kind of help with that as well too. But yeah, as you see, that's what gets installed with the HVAC system in our store.
We also got clarity on, just that the windows and doors will be closed, and that access will be by key card. Aaron did provide the hours of operation, so they would not exceed the hours that we stipulated in our ordinance. He did mention that after 6 months of operation, and he said that in the public hearing as well, that they might adjust their hours, they might contract them, but you can't extend the hours, because they are regulated by our ordinance.
Right, exactly. And for instance, right now in our two locations, we have the ability to be open from 9 a.m. In one location to 9 p.m. and one from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. And right now, we are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. in both of those locations. It's kind of what works. But just to kind of give you an idea, just to let you know, we will stay within what's required.
That's all we want.
Yeah, but my guess is it's probably going to be a little bit less. And on Sundays, we even close an hour early on Sundays in both our locations, just because we kind of traffic patterns of people, for the most part.
They did update the floor plan to show the vault and the packaging area and the waste container, which would be kept inside. That hadn't been, the dumpster, there was no dumpster, any outdoor refuse container, so we are seeing that is indoor. And I assume that you would contract with a local based hauler or...
Yes, yeah, like I think I mentioned too at the last meeting. So what we do right now is we have to quarantine any product that needs to get destroyed, per state requirements. And we have with the state an area designated where that quarantine is, and then from there it has to be destroyed destroyed for what the state requires. We use kitty litter, old cardboard boxes, whatnot. It has to be a percentage of the waste going out. We take pictures of it, notify the state, and then from there we keep it inside of our store until garbage day. So we don't go out, like throw it outside in a dumpster and wait outside for a week. Not that it would be deemed usable by any means, but we keep that considered hazardous material, hazardous waste marijuana products, and they usually are pretty much all for returns, is the only type of product that we get that we actually destroy, a faulty product or, yeah, that's about it. So it's not too common whatsoever, if that stays in the store, they'll throw it in the garbage outside. That's why we'll never have it overnight, so always been inside.
The review had some comments about the architectural, treatment of the building. So, everything was met except for the transparency, so the percentage of glass and windows, and we talked about that, and Erin has updated the plans, and you see them, and I can do that calculation as well, you know, later after looking at them, but, it does appear that they've added more windows, they've added more on both of those elevations, so, we should probably keep this condition, but just know that will verify that calculation. And then, in terms of landscape standards and buffer yards, the site is extensively wooded, and, we would just like to have the applicant on their updated site plan, should you recommend approval. All of these conditions need to be, shown on an updated site plan that becomes part of the building permit. So that we would just want to make sure there's some do not disturb areas that are around that wooded area, because they are using that wooded area to count towards our buffer yard requirement. So we would hate for all of a sudden, all those trees to be gone because of construction or any other practice. And we also have a tree protection zone on Blue Star Highway. So, you know, there's sort of two levels of regulation there, which is why we want to see that tree protection area labeled on the site plan.
And also, just to kind of touch on that a little bit further, I think last time I was here, I showed you on the site plan, due to what the County Road Commission is going to require for kind of the acceleration, deceleration lane and where that needs to be located from distance from the stop sign, we did our best to eliminate the amount of trees that would need to be removed for the driveway into the parking area. So we did our very best. There will some that need to be taken down. And besides that, the only other development we have that would require taking down any type of landscape is going to be a lot of the overgrown brush, basically all the way around. We have no plans in the immediate future to take down any of that wooded area, but just what's needed to kind of make the drive accessible into the parking lot. And that's really all we want to do. We kind of like it the way that it is right now. And the township does as well. That's our plan.
So no directional signage
From
to turn in? I mean, will it say anything like entrance or for what, the name of your business or, you know?
I mean signage on the road?
Near the road?
I don't really have anything in the plans right now. There will be signage on the building.
Yeah.
It's not really too big of our concern. The way that it really works right now is they're more of a destination.
Okay.
People don't drive down the road and say, well, you know, let's go in here. They kind of, it's a destination. They know where we're at, and they know what our business hours are. I mean, it's incredible. They're very particular shoppers, and they have, you know, apps online where people can see all the products you have in your store, so they know when they get there, they know exactly what they're going to get. So, no big green arrows, blinking arrows. You don't need any of that, really, and we don't really have any of that or plan on having anything. More decorative lighting to kind of just fit in with the area is kind of how we've done things so far at our facilities and how we're proposing in our other ones, but nothing out of the ordinary by any means.
I might have missed this, but did you submit more details on the exterior lighting?
It's on here.
Because that's,
Now, I have the cut lighting set for the building, everything that will be around the building that will go with the security cameras. In regards to the parking lot,
I'm looking at
Oh.
the summary.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen details
There's no
of any
exterior
kind of
lighting shown on the site.
parking lot lighting or anything like that.
I believe we should have just the regular basic cut lighting, LED cut lightings that we use for the exterior of the building. That should have been submitted, I believe it is on one of them, if not, I don't think the one I brought was the previous.
Well, it's still, regardless, any lighting would have to comply with our ordinance.
Right.
And we can get.
I just
yes, we
didn't
can
know if
get-
we needed
yeah,
to
I
discuss
didn't
that
see-
more, if we
yeah.
had more, the detail
No,
laid out.
I didn't see, any kind of cut sheet or detail of the fixture, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, I can take care of that, no problem. My own architect.
Thank you.
Any other questions for
Erin?
Aaron?
I have one, it's
Yeah.
not like a regulatory question, but have you ever had one of your stores broken into?
No, we get that question a lot. We
Okay.
have never had anyone, we've never had the police called to one of our stores, and we've never had an attempt to break in. The best is if you come and see our stores, you kind of see why. The store in Muskegon, we pick you up on both directions coming down the road at like about 600 to 700 feet away on cameras, and we have so many cameras that they're, by the time you park your car and you get into the very exterior of the front door, you've been on about 6 cameras, and you just, at eye level, you see about 3 on the way. It's very, I guess you want to say, well known that there's a high level of security, but we've also designed, especially our facility in Muskegon, to kind of let people know that, where we have steel door on the exterior of the building. We've created a small man trap that people have to kind of go into. So we make it very clear, you know, that you are on camera, you're being watched. It's kind of in the design too, in the way that this is, where when you walk into this front door here, you'll be presented first in a smaller area to check in, and there's plenty of posting of signs. There's you know, a second that you walk into one of our facilities that you're constantly being watched. I always kind of joke around like Ocean's 11 maybe could steal something out of our places, but that's like it. It's pretty crazy the amount of security that we have with the vault rooms, glass breaks, motion sensors, cameras, fisheye cameras, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty impressive. It's one of the most expensive things for one of these facilities is the security that goes into it.
Well, I looked up the biggest problems with marijuana facilities in Colorado, and security, I mean break-ins, that's the #1 problem.
Yeah,
And
we
there
haven't
is
experienced
break-ins, so
it.
that's why I asked.
Yeah, no, I get that question quite a lot. We haven't experienced it, and as far as we're concerned, it's kind of like a good luck, we kind of say to people. If you really want to try, go ahead. I mean, it's just going to cause damage. There's no way that you're not going to be on a camera. And a lot of cameras, and even if you get into the store, I mean, that's not even half the battle. To even get to anything, you're going to have to go through vault doors, safes. I mean, it's not an easy process by any means.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to accept.
I would move that we, approve the special use and the site plan, with the 11, conditions as laid out in the zoning administrator's November 2019, letter.
I'll second that.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
This portion, we're open to public comments. Is there any from anybody? First row, second row, third row, last row. Board discussion, township board update.
One second. I thought I had everything organized too. Oh, no, I got it. The board last met on Wednesday, November 6th. And the bulk of the meeting was dedicated to the resolution that the city of Saugatuck had shared with Douglas and the township on the Blue Star Bike Trail. We had 8 speakers, 6 were against the resolution as written, 2 were for it, and they were both council members from the city of Saugatuck. It's nice to see them at one of our meetings. We voted to table that version of an agreement relative to the trail, and we tabled it with the suggestion and action to set up a new committee with 2 representatives from each of the 3 municipalities, 2 reps from elected officials, and the 3 city managers. We appointed Brenda Marcy and Abby Bigford to join Griffin Graham, and Griffin has sort of taken the lead on getting that first meeting organized, and that's going to happen in December. So that's where we are on the Blue Star Bike Trail. We passed all the zoning amendments that this body had passed last month. And let's see, as you know, we requested that our attorney and our zoning administrator do a red line version of the medical marijuana ordinances for consideration at today's meeting. And then, let's see, Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water, this is just kind of interesting. They did report, our representative reported that the lead testing they were required to do by the state was all completed on September 30th. They didn't share any results, but the testing was done. And this is just sort of just of note. I share this with the public too, because this is an official public, official board meeting. On Saturday, December 14th in the morning, the township board is having, I believe, its first ever board goals and strategy session. That, again, it's an official meeting. It's open to the public. It will be moderated. This is pretty cool, I think. But Ottawa County's executive, forget his last name. It's Al something. But this is a guy that runs a county with about 1 million people, and he's moderating our session. So you're all invited to come. And there was further discussion on the impending issue on Lakeshore Drive, for those that aren't aware of it. Bill certainly is, but the erosion is getting worse with every weather event. But I'm very proud of the fact that the township, and Griffin in particular, have kind of taken the lead. There have been 2 meetings now with homeowners, the county road commission, the fire chief. You know, the understanding there's only so much any of us can do, but we're trying to get out in front of it, at least on what are the safety precautions we have to take in case the road goes out or there is another washout.
And Griffin's been great. He really has.
I know. Yeah. Thank you. He has. And if you want to add to that, because I know that there's the 2 meetings and there's more.
Yeah, I mean, the planning commission may have to get involved at some point, because it's going to have to be rerouted. I mean, there's, you know, it's not an if, it's a when. And I don't think anybody, you know, just to elaborate a little bit, what they're looking at right now, and this is mainly the emergency people, the fire department, the county emergency team, and so on, is how to access the 8 or 10 homes that are immediately threatened by the road going in, you know, and how they will get access to their homes and get emergency services to their homes and so on. So that's the short-term portion of it. The longer-term portion is, how are we going to deal with this? You know, because it's only going to get worse, and it's not just that area. There's other areas that are threatened. It's a 2.5-mile stretch that is in danger, you know. So it's going to require some big plans. It's going to take a long time, and we're going to have to find a whole bunch of money somewhere.
To that point, I heard today, I forget which county, it was a more northern county, but, there's a move to introduce legislation in Lansing to declare the entire lake shore of Lake Michigan a disaster area. Because I do think any real reasonable solution is gonna require federal and/or state funding.
It's gonna be deep pockets, really deep pockets.
Another move we're going to address at the December meeting, there's been a suggestion that we move the board meeting, the monthly board meeting, from the first Wednesday to the second Wednesday for a variety of reasons. So that might change, so you want to be aware of that. And then I also reported briefly, the last week of October, for the first time in history, the representation from Saugatuck Township attended, it's an annual event, it's an all-day session held somewhere in the county, sponsored by Allegan County itself on the economic development front. And I was pleased that I attended along with Griffin, and we heard some great speakers, met some great people. We'll talk more about that besides tiny houses or other aspects of things that, or my personal dream, so solar farm. Thank you.
Can I ask John a question?
Yes.
Just, in reference to December 14, what time are you
Oh,
doing that?
8 a.m.
8 a.m., and you're doing it here?
No. I think it's at the old school time.
Yeah,
It hasn't been formally.
I think it's the deal.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I heard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Al Vandenberg.
Oh, Al Vandenberg,
Al.
okay. And then,
Not the Al part.
do you have representatives from, like, planning commission, zoning, someone from all committees there?
You're all
To
invited,
participate in it?
it's a board strategy session.
Okay. Does it have any representatives from tri-community? No.
No,
This
It's
is Saugatuck
just-
Township.
Just township board strategy?
That's one of my goals we'll address,
Okay.
the
I just
tri-community
wondered,
meetings, but, yeah.
I just wondered if you had someone representing all departments, but,
Well, to the degree that there's board members on those committees.
okay.
But that's why I say, you're welcome to come, but it's a first step. It's a daunting thing, and as I said,
No, I
it's
know,
never been done
I
before.
know.
And I'm sure Mr. Vandenberg will have a lot to talk and
Mhm.
discuss, and I don't know how interactive it'll even be for us, but we're excited, and, maybe we'll
I'm
definitely do
excited,
it more often.
too.
And expand it.
Well, one thing we did in Holland, when I was on Holland City Council, is, we did that annually, but we got input from all departments prior to it as to at least know what was their biggest concern or our biggest desire to improve or whatever.
That's
Give
a
us
great
your one
point.
key point, and so that was really important in our strategizing. So,
Back when Griffin gets back from his first vacation, which he's on right now,
you can call me.
I'm gonna ask that he reach out to the committees.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I think that would
Chairs.
be a good idea, and the chairs, like Andy could say, what's the planning
Right.
commission's key point?
Bring it.
Because I don't think, you're expected to know everything about everything,
No?
but the people who are working individually in those areas
Nice, great point.
do have some, they can at least represent their groups
Yeah.
and bring some input, so that would be my thought. It's only, my thought.
I pushed for Friday, but we weren't gonna do it unless everyone could be there. 'cause
I
it's so
pushed for 11.
Right. Saturday at 8, some of us are compromising, but we will be there. And it's not all day, it's only like till noon or 1, but like you said,
Yeah.
it's a first.
You'll get a lot
doing
done.
something.
Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry.
If you haven't heard from him, let me know, and we'll take down your thoughts. Or you can,
Well,
or you can join us.
Andy represents us, but,
Well, I know, but it's open to the public, anyone on the planning
Exactly.
commission.
yeah,
Yep.
I just think it's nice to get input from your constituents in that way, if you can, but, thank you.
Sure.
John, on the bike trail,
Yeah.
doesn't Saugatuck have to take the lead on that and ask for money?
Well, the thing is, as I spoke at our meeting, Saugatuck Township, and all this is all prior to the current board, but there's such a history here with the bike trail. 14 resolutions have been passed in the last 10 years by the township board in support. So it's like, what's the point of something else? I was concerned that this draft resolution had language that it would supersede anything previously agreed to, and we had resolutions about maintenance on some of the issues. The key problem is that the city will not accept a plan on where the connection will be. You know, the whole trail is being held up by a mile or less, and that's also holding up this potential grant of $200,000. But I agree with you. On one hand, Douglas and Township don't really need to do anything. We've done it. But in the spirit of tri-community cooperation and solidarity, we'd like to have a resolution, not just the resolution that they approve, that maybe we don't. So let's work on it together. But the key is, what are they going to agree to? And if they can come up with that before mid-December, otherwise, that grant's in jeopardy. And
Also, my understanding is they haven't even attempted to do anything cash flow.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Good luck.
There's a long way to go. Doesn't mean we can't connect our three communities and probably get to Holland. Holland's pretty good about it, and Laketown too.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Meeting schedule.
Yes, the time has come to start thinking about 2020. So I just put out this schedule. It mirrors the way that you traditionally held your meetings, and a couple of the fourth Mondays have been moved because of the holiday. So the Memorial Day Monday is the third week in May, and also the December Christmas date is the third week in December.
It's the second, is that?
Oh, is it just, so it is the second, I guess, sorry.
Which is fine.
It's the second, because it's the 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the way those days with the holidays fell. And then we have submission deadlines. They're not always hard and fast, but I do like to have a deadline here for applicants. It really helps us plan and program, get those notices out in time, review to make sure we have complete applications and whatnot. So, that's something that we've started.
That's nice.
Yeah. So we would like your approval of this schedule, because then we notice it once and we post it, and that way we're not having to notice them every month. We just do one for the year, and if we cancel, we cancel.
Do we need a vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll move that we accept as submitted the schedule for planning commission meetings in the year 2020.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The next item.
I'll
They're so moved.
I'll email everybody tomorrow, once I find out about the notification, to let you know about the December meeting.
Yeah, and note that the meeting is on the 16th.
The 16th, yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Who supported do we need support to adjourn?
Five support.
Oh, thank you very much. I can't read Number 3, anyway, that's your intent.
No, Mr. Ragona? What is your first name?
Tony.
We couldn't read you right.
Well, I couldn't read it either.
And then T-O-N-Y.
Yeah, you got it.
R-A-G-O-N-A. This list is just for me.